I'm thinking, oh, this must be the month or this must be the time frame, and I took it too literally. And so there was a period of time last year I got very discouraged because I know the promise is coming, but I'm like, God, you lied to me.
That's what it feels like. And I want to talk about, oh my God, that's what go ahead. Go ahead. Are you fancy, huh? Hey, friend.
Hey!
How you doing, girl?
We back for another week, back to back.
Why you laughing, Ty? She trying to, y'all, my friend over there laughing at us. Hey, y'all. Okay, y'all, I can't be serious right now because I'm going to be honest with you. Me and Fred, we tired. Ain't you tired?
I'm tired. What you tired of?
I'm tired of waiting on the promise.
Listen, let's talk about it.
God, I'm tired of waiting. I'm silly.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Okay, we silly, y'all. Are you composed?
I'm composed. I'm ready.
Let's
do
this.
Talk about it.
Y'all, so we decided that we wanted to do an episode called God ... I'm tired of waiting on a promise. The reason for this episode was literally because me and both Charlicia are in a season in our life where we're waiting on things. And if I'm being completely honest with you, things that were actually, is it safe to say, confirmed by God? Yep. It is definitely safe to say that things that we both have sought God about several times, and over the last couple of years, as we've been waiting for the promise, it has felt as if those things have not happened yet. So I felt that if we feel this way, I'm sure it's things that you guys are seeking God on yourself and that you're also tired of waiting on as well. So this is going to be a very vulnerable episode. Y'all definitely about to be all up in our business. Dang, this is the second time in a week they've been in your business, huh? How you feel about that? It is what it is. It literally is what it is. Like, you know, so we gonna go ahead and just get this train started. So the question that I asked, both I'm going to answer and Charlicia is going to answer, is how has waiting on the promise impaired your faith? You want to go first or you want me to go first?
So let's tell the people, let's talk about impaired.
Okay, you got a definition?
So,
y'all, this is off the dome. There was no preparation because there's really no preparation for this. But look at the prompt that my friend looks that up, that my friend got us. It says, God keeps his promises. And I love this so much. Okay, go ahead.
So, how has waiting on the promise impaired your faith?
Yep.
So, impaired. Impaired means damaged. It means weakened.
Mm-hmm.
So how has waiting on your promise weakened your faith?
Jesus.
How has waiting on the promise damaged your faith?
Oh my God. Okay, so faith is the evidence of things hoped for, right? No, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So when we're talking about faith, we're literally talking about something that we can't see, but in the spiritual realm is there. So I'll start off by saying how waiting on the promise has impaired my faith, how it has weakened my faith, is because I literally have prophecies of people telling me, Jakil, you're going to be a business owner. Jakil, you are going to be financially stable. Jakil, your ladder will be greater than your past, meaning that your future ahead of you is going to be so much bigger than what's behind you. However, it's hard to believe that when you are literally making, I'm not going to even say making because it's that we make enough, but the reality of the situation financially, that's my promise. That's the promise that I'm waiting on God to do for me. I'm waiting on God to break through in my life financially. And I will say, Charlicia, the hardest thing that I have endured was, like, if I'm being real, checking my account balance and it's a zero balance after I pay all my bills. That irritates me. And then it's like when you're doing it the right way, when you're doing it the legal way, when you're giving your tithes, when you're giving your offering, when you don't mind sowing into other people, you don't mind working for the kingdom. And it's just like, God, when? And I remember I had a moment, it was maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where I just straight up asked God, like, God, is it going to always be like this? Like, is it going to always be financially burdensome? But then I go back and I reflect on the promise, even the promises that God has shown me myself, like the things that he's promised me that I could have. And it's like, dang, like, God, you said I could have it. So when? And how long is too long? And why does the preparation has to be this tedious? Like, what other lesson do I need to learn in order to get to the thing? So it has impaired my faith, because when you keep hearing what you're going to have, what you're going to be able to have access to, and it doesn't happen yet, it make you feel like, okay, God, am I tripping? Is this me, or is this really going to happen?
Right. And I've had those moments as well where so let me take it back. So during the pandemic, as you know, things have shifted for me in a spiritual realm. I always look up to you as the friend. I know we're always evolving spiritually, but from a spiritual standpoint, you were that friend. I'm like, oh, you have that foundation. Yeah. Like, I've joked with you. I'm like, joking, but for real. If I feel like, I don't know, Lord, if this is going to make it, I'm going to phone a friend. I'm calling Jaquil, right?
I'm flattered.
So,
glory be to God.
So, that's no secret. Like, I feel like you've got it and let it me, like, from the spiritual realm. So during the pandemic, I started to experience things, like I started to have dreams, like slightly in 2020. But January of last year, he just amped that thing up literally overnight.
Wow.
He primed it.
Jesus.
You talked about Prime.
Oh my God. He bought the Amazon Prime. Don't bless this.
He Amazon Prime certain things spiritually for me, to where, you know, I might have one dream in a quarter now. For like weeks in a row, I had a dream every night, and it was like very vivid dreams, and they had spiritual meaning. So last year, in the summertime, he was very clear to me. Mind you, we had our friend Tash. She's like, friend, I dreamed about such and such. So for me, my promise is entering motherhood.
Wow.
So I would have Ty say, oh, I dreamed about it.
Jesus.
But when Ty's telling me, she didn't say, I dreamed about fish last night. He's giving her vivid vision.
Dreams.
You know, there are people who've provided beauty services to me. And they'll say, out the blue, mind you, I have not had a conversation with them about a child, none of this. One lady who did my hair for my birthday on last year was the first time. I met this lady on Style Seed.
Wow.
And she was like, I'm doing your hair, but, you know, I'm trying to let go of this. My other clients are starting to come in, but I just got to say it. So we're in the corner in the back of her shop, and she's just prophesying into my life. This lady don't know me from a can of paint.
Never met you before.
Right. So this lady, another person that provided beauty service to me, our friend Ty, and then when these things are happening, he's now giving me dreams, not about other people, because at first he was giving me dreams about other people. He's starting to download dreams. He's showing me numbers down to like months, and like it's very vivid. And so I'm gonna be honest, in that time frame, I think I was so stuck on what I saw in the dream, and I took the dream so literally when he's showing stuff to me in numbers. I'm thinking, oh, this must be the month, or this must be the time frame, and I took it too literally. And so there was a period of time last year I got very discouraged because I know the promise is coming, but I'm like, God, you lied to me.
That's what it feels like. And I want to talk about, oh my God, that's what it feels like. And here's the thing. We know that God will, for one, never leave us nor forsake us. We know that God knows the plans that he has for us. I literally just taught that today, that God, you know the plans that you have for us. And not only just that, you knew me before I was even thought about in my mother's womb. But why does it feel so hard waiting on you to come through on your word? And the thing about it is, I know God is incapable of lying, but at the same time, it doesn't take away from the fact when you're getting literal dreams, like with literal months And he's showing you literal signs of evidence of what's to come in your future. Crazy part about it is, Ty, before I had moved out, she said, Jaquil, I hold on to this dream. She said, I had a dream. And in the dream, you were literally pulling stuff out of the oven at your new apartment. And this is the apartment I'm living in now. She was like, every time you would pull stuff out of the oven, it was like more food was there. I think it was something like that, right, Ty?
And it was just us in the dream. So my thing is, I didn't know why you were cooking so much. It was like a feast. That's what it reminded.
That's what she said. She said it reminded her of a feast. So of course I looked it up, and it meant like having an abundance of food meant that you had abundance. And I was like, oh my goodness. Wow, wait a minute. And so I know that we're close to something, because you had that situation where you had the dreams where Ty dreamed about something, and then, you've had people prophesying into your life, and I had those same things. But the thing about it is, Charlicia, when you're actually walking it out day by day, and you're waiting on that thing to happen, preparation sucks. Preparing for the promise, it really sucks. It's really difficult. I don't know about nobody else, but as for me in my house, you said it makes you feel discouraged, and God, you lie to me, it makes me mad. And I'm not gonna lie. I'll be like, God, that's how I said it in my car. I said, God, when? And nobody is going to be real and say, God, I'm questioning you because I don't understand. Why is it so long to wait on financial breakthrough? I know you would be a great mother. I know if I had the finances, I would literally give it to somebody else. Then it's like you see people, and I hate to say this, not to be like a hater or nothing, but if I'm being real, people who it seems like they don't have to work as hard for the promise. It's like they get it just so instantaneously. And so
I did used to have that thought process. Of, it seemed like, others get it quicker.
And hello to anybody who just joined.
And then I had to shift my mindset. And a couple of things that came to me. One, favor's not fair. Two, it may seem like they're living life a certain type of way over here. But the bottom line is, you can think of like the most reckless person you've seen that you feel like is living in abundance.
Yeah.
But they can have all the money. They can have all these fancy, expensive cars. They can have all these fancy clothes.
God.
But we don't know if they got peace when they go home. When they're not around people, when they're not in the social setting, they can literally be in a mental torment when they get home.
Wow.
So I had to shift my thought process. At this point, it's not about money. It's not about the material things. It's not about what's perceived on the outside. Like, I want these things, one, the right way. Two, I want peace with these things. So for me, if I'm in a situation where God released certain things to me, like I don't want to say to teach me a lesson, but it really wasn't my season, I don't want that because it's not going to come with peace.
It's not. And I've had that happen before. Okay. Before I talk about that example, I want to ask you a question. So you know how, like I said, God, why does it feel like certain people get certain things and it happens so easy? Do you think social media has played a role in us wanting to access things almost like instantaneously?
I absolutely believe that. And then going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago with how it may look, that goes also into like the social media. People are going to paint the pretty cute stuff. But 9 times out of 10, unless people are on social media as a ministry and they're really walking in their call, they're not going to have these vulnerable conversations that you're having on your platform. So to you and I, that's why we have to be very careful of who we follow, who we watch, who we allow into our portals, because it can really mess with our mind. Because the reality is, walking through, as you say, the preparation, walking through the stages that it takes to get to the promise, because the reality is the process to the promise is going to be a whole lot longer than the promise itself.
Yeah, it is.
Like, we're talking like, okay, some people, it might take them 7 months to get to their promise. Some people, it might take them 7 years as far as their preparation. And you don't know when that promise is going to be released to you. You can go to bed tonight, and tomorrow, boom, your promise is at your front door. But you've also been working through this promise. I know of at least 4 years.
You know, the thing about it is too, the kind of downside of social media is that you, for an example, you'll see like a lot of up and coming influencers, and it feel like they came out of nowhere, but really you can scroll down on their pages and see that they've been doing what they've been doing for a very long time. And so to us it looks like, oh, they just instantly made it, but really for real we don't understand the processes that they had to go through. So my thought process, if I'm taking accountability, it's some things that I thought I was ready for financially that God is like, not until you can steward this are you actually ready for this. So you could think that you're ready for something that you're not really ready for. I give it to you, and then boom, what you gonna do with the promise? Because I don't want to get the promise and then when it's time to steward it, I can't do the proper things with it because I haven't went through the preparation process. Wow.
But it's also that the world that we live in, because everything is instant by our fingertips. So you have Amazon Prime, you have Netflix, you have Instacart, you have, Uber. We have so many things that we can get just a matter of minutes.
Wow.
And so when it comes to our own life, we feel as though that we want it instantly. Because now we live in a society that we don't have to wait for anything.
Good
Right.
grief.
And so, but our life is not set up like that.
Right.
Dude, I think that's kind of the thing, is that like God is not rushing because he knows like our life, how many days we have until we end this earth.
Yeah.
But we're rushing because we're seeing everything around us be so rushed that we often feel like, oh, I'm running out of time. Literally, God, if I don't buy my first home by then I'm not successful. If I don't have my first child by then it might be too late. And have y'all noticed that there's all these time restraints on when we're supposed to accomplish a goal?
But Jaquil and Charlize, and I know I'm not up here because I declined.
Unless you want to be.
No, I'm not properly dressed.
You can talk from the background.
Yeah, I can talk from the background. But I just lost what I was about to say.
It's okay. It'll come back to you. Oh, okay.
This is okay. So with the area with you, Jaquil, is the finances and financial stability, and with Charlicia, if I'm able to say it, because you already said it, motherhood, and then for me is a husband. But this is the only areas that it feels like it's taking a long time. How many times have God showed up for us quickly and instantly?
Instantaneously.
And so
it's just this one area in our lives.
Oh, only this one. Speak on it. Speak on it, boom.
So this,
Oh
I was waiting for the door to open. I'm gonna walk on through.
Walk through it.
So one thing that I've noticed and learned as I'm going through it personally, and when I think about like my trauma history and things that I've worked through from a mental health standpoint, is I'm completely convinced that your biggest struggle, or what you feel like is one of the hardest seasons, or the hardest thing, almost like that thorn in your side,
Literally,
it's related to your trauma. It's related to something you worked through. You've been through. So for me, it's no secret. We talked about it last week. I had huge daddy issues, parent issues.
okay.
And I also disclosed on last week there was a period of time where I no longer lived with my mom. I lived with my aunt.
Okay.
So we're not, looking at one parent. We're looking at two parents. And so I feel like, while I've healed from those things, while I have forgiven all of those things, I hold no animosity in my heart towards either of my parents, or towards any of the trauma that I've been through, because God literally showed me that I am the generational curse breaker. So I can't hold on or hold on to the past or hold grudges for those things, because that energy, that toxicity is going to prevent me from being a generational curse breaker and to help lead the future generations to come. So that's why I had to let those things go. But I also know that the enemy knows that I went through those things. So on, let's say, some of my days where I start to get into my head, or I'll be like, God, okay, you lied to me. Like, you tripping.
Yeah.
the enemy. I allowed the enemy to come into my mind.
Your mind, yeah.
Because then I'm like, well, you did have that issue, you did have daddy issues, you did have that. That has nothing to do with you becoming a mom because you've forgiven. You have the receipts to show the co-pays that you spent on that.
Yes.
You're going to be a great parent.
Yes, you are.
Just
Lord,
because you had issues in that area does not mean you're going to be less than of a parent. And I'm not going to lie, even though I felt like a part of me, for as long as I can remember, I felt like I was going to be a wife. I felt like wife and motherhood was a part of my journey. However, there was a period of time where I was so career driven that I honestly didn't expect to be married or even think about parenthood until honestly even 10 years from now.
Good grief.
And I'm 32.
Good grief.
And
wow.
I was literally in the process of okay, I know it's going to be expensive. And you know me, I'm all about a budget. I had started doing research about freezing my eggs, all of that stuff. I literally thought it was going to be that late for me.
Wow, friend.
But when I really got to the depth of that thought process and the mindset I was in, a huge part of that, it was in a sense, I was convincing myself of those things because low-key, well, really high-key, I really feared parenthood because I felt because of certain traumas I had went through, no matter how much you tell me, oh, I see when you're with your nieces or I see when you're with someone, it just comes so naturally to you. It comes effortlessly.
Oh, my God.
I did not believe that. I'm well, God, what if some traumatic event when I'm supposed to be taking care of my child surfaces and then I get set back and now I'm essentially neglecting my child? It was a mental thing for me. And on the outside, when people see that I've been married almost 7 years, at holidays and stuff like that, they're saying, well, when are you going to have a baby? So automatically people just assume, oh, she must be infertile or, it just ain't working or something like that. But for me, it's been emotional. It's been mental. And, my heart goes out to people that's dealt with infertility from a medical standpoint. And there was a time where, doctors have said certain things to me as well. And I said, I rebuke it because I know the dreams I've had. I know the processes I've had in my life. And I know for me that it's a mental thing because people don't realize it starts in your mind and then that can impact physical stuff. God. So I got to make sure my mind is right. So I say all that to say, not that I'm holding up because God is going to release when he releases. But I have to make sure that mentally my mind is the best and healthiest it can be before he's going to release it.
So I'm happy that you and Ty brought this up because for me, I reflect back on a story when I was first going through bankruptcy. And what happened was that I was 21. And I remember, I'm going to be honest, I was smoking marijuana with my cousins. I'm going to tell the truth because if it's going to make somebody get free, I don't even care. Honestly, that's another thing. I'm so past, I don't care telling my business because I feel like I'm so free from it. It doesn't bother me to get up here and be vulnerable with my audience, y'all. But anyways, I was smoking marijuana with my cousins, which could have also impaired this panic attack that I had. But I remember that at this particular point in my life, I was getting garnished. So the garnishments was for big lump sums because until you completely pay off the bankruptcy to retain a lawyer rather, then you will have to you're not under that umbrella yet. So long story short, if you ain't paying somebody, even though you on a bankruptcy, they can take your money. So I remember I had worked 40 something hours and okay, so I'm 21. So my check could have been $600. But by the time I checked my account, because I think my card had declined for something to see how much I had in my account, I only had $60. I was like, how? What could have came out? Long story short, I was garnished. Okay. So I remember, you see how close you're sitting to me? As I'm checking my ATM card, my cousin is standing this close to me and she saw how much I had in my account and she said, dang, that's all you have? All I know is that by the time we had got back to my house, which at the time I was living with my parents, next thing you know, y'all, I had a full-blown panic attack. So looking back in retrospect, off of you saying what the promise, it feel like it's being delayed, is based off of something that traumatized you. I think that bankruptcy and just that particular time in my life, it traumatized me. Mm-hmm. If I'm being completely honest, because that was right after losing my virginity, right, to somebody I shouldn't have been in a relationship with. I didn't have insurance on my car, so I literally totaled my car. The same day I totaled my car with no insurance on it, by the way, I got my letter from Norfolk State basically saying, yep, by the way, academic probation. No, it ain't academic probation. You cannot financially go through this semester. So I remember from like 21 to 25, that's it. No, it was like 21 to 23, but lost because I graduated at 25. But I said all of that to say, I often wonder now that we looking back in retrospect, am I pushing away the thing that I desire out of fear of, is it even accessible anyway? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Mm. So why do you think God is having us wait so long? Do you feel like he wants to make sure we're able to handle the promise and then not be a fear response? Like we don't want to hoard it because it's fear, but he want to make sure like it's freedom in us having a promise.
I feel like the latter. Because of course, you know, obviously it's no secret in my case, a lot of people are parents, right? Mm-hmm. Some people, you know, and I'm sure even, you know, when I get there are going to be some days where I'm like, Holy Spirit,
activate.
Because I'm human too, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like that he has us in this process of kind of like waiting it out and really almost like I see it as we're right now, we're the soup in the pot.
We're simmering.
We're simmering. Because for one, I feel like when you get things fast, the faster they get, the faster they leave. Mm. And I don't want nothing. I don't want to get something fast because I feel like personally 9 times out of 10, it doesn't have a long shelf life with it. Mm. So if that means I have to be a pot of soup and simmer for however long,
Jesus,
it's the blessing. And once it's released, it's just going to be so much better. And I completely believe that. Mm. I wholeheartedly believe that because I also think for me, becoming a parent, for me, it's not just, she had a baby.
Ministry.
It's deeper than that. Like God has showed, matter of fact, he gave you vision of this too.
Yeah.
He has showed vision that me becoming a mom is deeper than me just having a child. And it's going to save lives. It's going to restore relationships with other mothers. And I will leave it at that.
And on the contrary, he's literally shown you, me, being like a pioneer of like business and entrepreneurship
and ministry.
Lord God, I'm getting revelation. God, I'm sorry. Revelation is, what if the reason why God is allowing us to wait for the thing that feels like it's taking so long is because he wants us to understand, for one, praise me in the hallway, right? Praise me in the hallway. But then also, not only just that, I want you to know that when you get there, you're going to steward over it so much better because you're going to think about all the days that it took you to get to this place that you're at right now. Think about Jesus. Jesus took the cross. And I'm pretty sure he said, Father, take this cup from me. I'll be like, God, take this financial cup from me. God, why am I still waiting on to have this baby? Take this cup from me. You know, my friend, is it okay if I say it? God, I'm tired of being single. Take this cup from me. Okay? But I feel like we got to understand that the promise is bigger than us, right? Jesus, when Mary was pregnant with Jesus was an infant. Him taking a cross was for the world. That's bigger than him being an infant. And I'm getting excitable. I'm getting excited in my spirit because me taking up my cross in ministry is bigger than Virginia. It's bigger than Hampton Roads. It's bigger than right now this situation I'm going through. Your child it like how Rebecca birthed Samuel, and how Mary birthed Jesus. It's for a bigger purpose than just you being a mom. You getting married is for a bigger purpose than you just being a wife. And so what if the thing that we despise the most is the preparation for the thing that's going to be bigger than us? And he has to build that heart up in us to help us to even be able to have heart to stick in it, because we do know that when you elevate, you're going to experience turbulence. So yeah, we're going to get the promises, but with the promises is going to come turbulence. It's going to come late nights, early mornings. I'm just saying. I don't know. I just quit
And I
Revelation.
think this is also is building our faith too, because in all other areas of my life, I trust God.
Yes.
So I'm the opposite as far as like the finances. Like I'm good. Like I know that God is going to take care of me. This is the area, honestly, that I can say that I don't fully trust God. I don't believe that. And this is probably sad to say that I don't trust Him enough, because what I see that He's going to deliver in this area.
God.
So, we can't be flip-flopping like, if 1 minute we're saying, yeah, my husband coming, my baby coming, the business is, all of that is coming, and then something happens, and then we back at square one, and then we go doubting God. So we go back and forth. All three of us go back and forth. In the area. Yes.
Wow. So are you saying
trusting God in this area?
So you said that God is trying to increase our faith in Him through the thing. Because it's funny, right, Ty? Because you know how, like you say, you lack the faith regarding the relationship. But I lack the faith with the finances. But guess what? I don't lack the faith in the area of the relationship. I'm almost positive that, like, I'm just, like, just to be honest, like, we triple threat. That's me and we call ourselves triple threat, and we are triple threat. We be around here. They say you a wife before you a wife, right? We be around here cooking full course meals and telling each other, like, okay, here go your to-go platter, keeping your house clean, praying, interceding for people, the faith that we import into each other. Those are wifely characteristics. So for me, I feel like I know Ty is going to be your wife. I have absolutely zero doubt about her being a wife. I have no doubt about you being a mother. Do you have doubt about me being financially stable?
No.
I do. But that's what I'm saying. I know you're going to be a mom. So why is it that we can't have that same faith in our own journey and self? Or that faith in God for the area? Because when I think about it, every interview I ever went on, get like that. Pray about something, it happened just like that. So it's just this one area that it's like, okay, God, what you going to do about this?
The same thing I did for everything else.
And we got to speak it like it's
but bigger.
already here.
But bigger.
And so sometimes I wonder if that's the true fear. Like we say that, we don't have faith in God. So is it that we don't have faith in God for our area? Or is it that we know that the vision that we have, so the vision you have for your business, the vision I have, motherhood, the vision you have
for wife,
my man. It's to us, it's big.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we know the vision might look like this for us. This might be big, but God is up here.
It's bigger.
So is it the faith in God not delivering it? Or is a piece of that also, okay, because I know God is going to be so big, I'm almost kind of scared that I don't have what it takes to handle it?
I think for me, it's a level of both. For one, I know that we have prayer on Thursdays, okay? And we be praying to God for some things, okay? We pray for people, we pray for each other, and we pray for our dreams. And I'm going to be honest with you, the stuff that God has given us visual of, to be completely honest, it's like, God, where are the financial resources going to come? Where the human capital going to come? And how am I going to have a balanced life, being a mother, a wife? And these dreams that you've given us as triple threat, they're not small visions. They're not just one thing. It's like multiple things. So for me, it's like, how are we going to be able to steward all of that? Because one day it's going to come where you're going to be a wife, you're going to be a mom, I'm going to be financially successful, I'm going to be a wife, you're going to be a business owner, you're going to be a mom, and then boom, boom, it's going to just rotate, right? How are we going to do it all? Because it's hard doing it all now.
And so I feel like this is a part of the reason why it's taking us so long. Even though we're frustrated, I feel like 5 years from now, it's going to make sense.
Yeah, I do too. I also feel like the one thing I want to tell y'all is it's very important to have friends, good friends as sounding boards, because I'm going to be very honest with you. It's been times where I've called Taisha and Charlicia like, I'm done. That's it. I'm done with mental health. I'm done with the podcast. I'm done. And they got mad. Like, what do you mean you're done? But when I hear them talk like that, I'm like, what are you saying? Like, what? So it's like, we get so mad at each other for giving up. You crying, friend? Oh yeah, I just got a little bossy. I must have been really ministering, huh?
That's like a little triggering. I mean, what if she was?
It's okay.
Like, yeah, you don't have to ask her.
Well, why you fussing me out?
I don't like that.
From the sideline.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
I'm thinking like, am I?
I must be really ministering, huh? Let me stop. What's wrong with this? Y'all, we're not serious tonight. But we are serious. What was I saying? Anyways, I was just saying you gotta have friends to push you through. What do we call it? You call it doula. The doula you through your tough season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, friend. Anything else y'all want to spill on that? Spill tea on that?
No.
Lord, how are you seeking God to believe Him for your promise?
I think we kind of touched on this.
We did.
Praying.
Fasting.
Fasting. And with praying, of course, it's an individual thing, but collectively, it's a thing. So, like you said, every Thursday, we pray. And we ain't doing no pitter-patter prayers.
No.
Our prayers be a church service long, like
it
literally.
do. Like, it literally been...
We preach a certain...
What we do, sir?
The whole ceiling come off.
Honestly, for real, I will be honest. Sometimes I wonder, is that another reason why we get the spiritual attacks we get, though? Yeah. Because once you start kind of like disrupting the kingdom of darkness, I feel like, it's war. Because it's been times we've been praying, and I think all three of us have just gotten mad. Like, why you trying to play in my face? Because here's one thing. When you finally get focused on doing what God has called you to do, aka getting to the promise, you're going to get the spiritual attacks. So, I'm focused on podcasting, and now I might get something to come from left field over here. I'm finally got my mind ready to be a mother, and then I'm going to get this left field attack over here. And it's almost like those little things as well can drain you from focusing on a promise as well, because you want to push for the promise. You want to push for purpose. And I wrote something down. I said, first, purpose. Second, preparation. Third, pause. The pause is where you go through a season where God just allowed you to rest, because I call it the slingshot season. You get your purpose, which is your call. Then He take you through a preparation season. Then He say, pause. I need you to rest. I need you to gear up, because I got the slingshot like this, but when I that thing, it's go mode. That's another thing I'm afraid about. Because sometimes we be like, God, I'm ready. Until it's 3:00 in the morning, you got to change that diaper, or you got to send these invoices out because you said you wanted a business, right? Well, here's the business.
Or too scared to go on a date.
Because he done pulled that slingshot back. So I said all of that to say, all the time when he be like, babe, I'm hungry. You think you can make me up? Why am I like that? Anyways, I was going somewhere with this, so I said that to say you kind of get discouraged when you get these left field occurrences. The other thing that I wanted to say, how I've been seeking God for the promise is taking my mind off the promise and keeping my mind on the promise keeper. Because sometimes I can get very like futuristic, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to have my business. I can't wait till I can be a full-time influencer. And I feel like, not to say I'm idolizing it, but like my mind is just, I ain't gonna lie. It's been times I idolized it because my mind was so there. But it's like, okay, God, thank you for my house. Thank you for my job. Thank you for my family. Because if so, I get too overwhelmed with the promise that I forget, what about God?
I think going back to those generational curses, when
God.
you said the attacks, we call ourselves like we are the generational curse breakers of our families. So we don't know how long these curses have been a while and lingering over the bloodline.
Oh my God.
In certain areas.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know. We don't know how far back. And even if we did like a what's it called? Genogram.
Yeah.
We know about our family, like, you know, great grandmas, maybe great grandmas. We may not know anything past that, before that.
Can I ask y'all a question? If it's not too personal, at this moment, it ain't nothing too personal.
We free indeed.
When y'all did y'all genogram, what came up? What was the curse in y'all family?
Single parenthood. Pretty much a lot of single mothering. In my family.
Mine was divorce and alcoholism and or some type of substance abuse. You remember yours, huh?
Yes, as it relates to my promise of, you know, being a wife, it's several. Multiple marriages. So say it's like, you know, mom been married more than once, my grandmother been married more than once, my aunts been married more than once. So multiple marriages, being a widower, how you say it? Widower? Yeah.
I think.
Pretty much at an early age where they outlive their husbands, where it's like, oh, you know, my auntie and my grandma, you know, they live about 30 some years after that's a long time.
That is a long time.
So things like that, or I have like cousins that haven't been married yet. So late marriages.
You know, I was looking at something by Tiffany Montgomery, and she said that so how does a covenant start or a generational curse start? Somebody went into agreement with something that wasn't of God.
Oh, yeah.
And Tiffany Montgomery said that once you come out of agreement of any type of covenant, there will be spiritual ramifications or repercussions if you're not spiritually aware enough to know to pray. So a lot of the times I'm thinking, are we fighting these generational curses, right? Because there was an agreement that was broken that we weren't aware of. Honestly, my great grandma, her name was Grandma Bessie. That was my Tinkerbud. I love her to life. But, you know, when she was growing up during a time where, you know, if you had any type of disease or ailment or, you know, like thing that could cause you to be like stunted in any way, like you got treated less. And so I look back and I see a spirit of fear on my bloodline, because this is also a grandma who watched her child get hit by a bus in front of her and died while she was pregnant with another child, right? She had polio, and her only dream was to go to school to be a teacher, and the closest she ever got to that was working in the school cafeteria. She also buried not one, not two, but several children. So I look back and I'm like, wow, is that possibly where the spirit of fear comes? Because I think I've had panic attacks, but I felt myself get really anxious, not just about money, but like I overthink sometimes. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. And then I look back, I'm like, God showed me, you know, that spirit of fear, it started with that in your bloodline. And once you come into agreement with something, yeah, you can say I'm the generational curse breaker, but understand that if it wasn't proper, the covenant wasn't properly broken, there's ramifications. So sometimes you feel like you're fighting for your life, just trying to do better.
Yeah.
And this is stuff think that's the part that really makes me angry, because it's like, of course, you know, we didn't ask to be here.
No.
Because it just ran in our bloodline, and we recognize it because of the field that we in. And it's like, now I got to, you know, fix this pretty much. Like, I got to pray against this. I got to renounce and denounce some things because of the covenants. And these are things that, some of the stuff that I know that back in the day, my family was doing witchcraft. They were doing voodoo.
Wow.
But that was back in the 70s, but I don't know how far back, you know,
that started.
You don't know, you know, how far back my family history goes.
Right. And I even think about, from a medical perspective, like, this is a lot of, like, medical diagnosis within the African American community itself. But thinking about, like, my bloodline itself, you know, you got the hypertension, you have the diabetes, heart failure, stuff like that. And so we have the book, A More Excellent Way.
Yes.
And so when, by the way, y'all, A More Excellent Way by Dr. Henry Wright.
That's the book tonight. Yep.
So that's a good book. I should have brought my copy. You
I
got
have it. You want me to go grab it real quick?
We can get it when it's book time.
Okay.
So that's a good book to get because it has mental health diagnosis as well as medical diagnosis. And for the medical diagnosis, it'll tell you, like, if you have been diagnosed with this diagnosis or if you have a family member, it tells you the root of it mentally.
Yes.
And when I was looking at some of the medical diagnosis within my bloodline, and just kind of doing research on it, I realized a lot of it is tied to mental health. And the mental health thing is tied to, it was a lot of anxiety, it was a lot of fear.
And you know something else too, y'all really got to get that book by Dr. Henry Wright called A More Excellent Way, is because I found that I haven't found, but I've heard, and I know that it is true, that cancerous cells can't live in a body that is free from stress. They said that the reason why people typically are diagnosed with cancer is literally because of stress. And what is anxiety?
Stress.
It's stress induced. How did we get here? I thought we was talking about the promises. Well, this is still talking about the promises.
But
wow.
We was talking about, you said the genogram. What do we find in genogram?
Yes.
And the whole breaking generational curses, because God has revealed to all three of us
Yes.
that we are the generational curse breakers in our family.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with us.
It starts with us. I do want to also say, y'all, this is another reason why therapy is important. I'm sorry. I'm an African-American therapist, Christian therapist, and then so is my friends, and we're going to always encourage therapy because it's certain patterns that you repeat not knowing that it's a generational curse, but it's also a faulty behavior. It's a cognitive distortion, okay? And what is the cognitive related to? It's related to how you think. So reality is, why would God allow us to get the promise if we don't even think about the promise in a healthy way? If you don't think about relationships in a healthy manner, why would I give you that? If your spending habits is bad and it's linked to your cognitive distortions, why would I allow you to obtain that? You see what I'm saying? Or if you have cognitive distortions and you're going to put fear on your child, why would I promote you being a parent? And so I think one of the things that we also have to do is we have to take accountability as well as to why God has not allotted us the opportunity to get the promise at this moment, because he knows the perfect time to release the promise. But y'all, I'm telling y'all, go to therapy. That's all I'm gonna say. We all need therapy. I don't care what nobody say. I don't understand why we will go to a medical doctor to talk about a medical diagnoses, but we will not go to therapy to talk about patterns that we recognize that if we could break it on our own, it would have been broken. You need God. Some of us need Jesus, and we need a therapist.
So we need to get out of the deficit mindset.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is linked to poverty. That, you know, me having a deficient mindset or anything like that. Like, just have an open mind. Therapy is not a bad thing, and you don't only go to therapy because you're suffering with some major mental illness such as bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, therapy could be to help you navigate your relationships. It could be to help you with your eating habits. It could be you might have just got a diagnosis that's related to your medical health and you go to therapy to help you cope with it. Therapy is not always about serious mental illness.
Right.
Okay, that's it. I'm done with that rant. Anyways, friend, what story do you want to tell?
So we were talking about this a little bit earlier today about me saying I want to live a soft life.
Oh, yes. Jesus.
So
soft girl era loading.
So I think for me, I feel like my soft girl era, for me, I define that is I no longer want to be Superwoman. Mm-hmm. So the story that I want to tell is you can have it all. And when I say all, the all is whatever all God wants to give to you. So at this point in my life, I want to softly be Burger King.
I want to have it my way.
But my way is really the way that God has it. So if God says he has in my plan, which I already know, it's been revealed to me. Motherhood is a part of my plan. You know, wife is a part of my plan. It's some businesses there too. I believe that I can have all of those things, whatever God chooses to release to me. Yeah, I can have it all, but I'm not going to have to do things that I've seen people do.
Work 3 jobs to make the ends meet.
I'm going to be able to have all those things, but because I have so much favor on my life, because I'm really in my purpose, I'm really following the call of God, I'm going to be able to have these things, but I'm still going to be able to be the chaperone at my children's field trips. I'm still going to be able to be, attending events with them. I'm not going to have to be like, well, I can't do this and that because I don't have enough PTO. I'm going to be the boss. So I get to have how much PTO I need. And it's not going to be one of those things where I'm like, well, since I didn't work today, man, I don't know how the bills gonna get paid. I'm gonna be in overflow already. I'm gonna be in surplus. And I'm not saying that to brag, but it's gonna be because how we always say, we got seed in the ground.
We got seed in the
ground.
That
time where, you was only making $35,000 and you only had $100 in your account, but God said, give 20 over here. And you like, man, God, that man gonna have an 80. But because you were obedient, that seed in the ground, you had forgot all about that situation. But here we are 10 years later down the road. It's those seeds that's gonna, because you were obedient. That was only $20 back then, but because you released that $20, which was technically kind of like your last, I'm gonna release 30 over here. Not $30, 30 grand.
30 grand. And that's just one of the 30 grand.
And so that's the story that I want to tell. I want to tell the story of you can be, as long as you're being obedient and you're operating in your call, even if the call and mantle that you have on your life has never been in your family before, has never been in your friendship circle before, it's your call. It's going to be different. And you can do all of the things under the umbrella of being obedient. And it's not to say that you're not going to have chaotic times or stressful times, but it's not going to be an ongoing thing. You're going to feel like you're living a quote-unquote softer life. It's not going to, I think you say toiling. You're not going to feel like
you're toiling all the time, meaning you just always hitting a pile. It's going to come a season of rest.
And so that's the story that I want to tell. And I want this to be and I'm not going to say I want it. It's going to be a part of my testimony. I wholeheartedly believe, yes, some days are a struggle for me. Some days I'm like, okay, God, like, is it really going to happen? But deep down in my heart of hearts, I do believe. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know where. But I believe that it's going to come a day and I'm going to be looking back and I'm going to be like, wow. The promise is really here.
And the promise is still the promise. And not only is it still the promise, but God has literally did what he has promised. And God, I owe you an apology. I'm going to just go ahead and say it right now, forever doubting you, because the reality of the situation is you came through on your word, because you will never leave us nor forsake us. You will never King David said, I've been young and I've been old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor begging for bread. So my thought process is God literally did what he said. It's going to say God did it. It's going to say the story that I want to tell is God did it. Everything that God said he was going to do, he literally did it, right? The times, Jesus, not today. I'm not about to shit. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna shed no. Literally, God literally did it. I'm gonna be at your wedding reception. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be at mine. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be at the baby shower. I'm gonna be holding Tinker like, hey, Tinker, Kiki coming through with a Hummer and a Range Rover. Come on, team. Literally, y'all gonna be coming to the grand opening. Cutting the grand opening. That's the story I want to tell. God did it, and he's doing more and more and more, because we did not get, even though our faith was tried, we did not allow our faith to die while waiting on the promise. And that's why I think some people never get the promise, because they allow their faith to die. It don't matter how many times you've witnessed your promise. If what your promise seemed like it didn't come through, it came through anyhow. You might have to tarry. You might have to press your way through, cry your way through, fast your way through. Somehow the promise became a promise. And the other story that I want to tell, I want to be like a 90-year. I have visions of me being like 90 plus, right? And I'm having like, I have fine china. I don't know why I have this vision. Y'all know I like to make pound cakes. I have visions of my grandkids, my Tinkaboos, the kids that Taisha and Charlize are gonna have, which is essentially gonna be my nieces and nephews, my actual nieces and nephews, my children, our families coming together. And just like how I make Sunday dinner now in my apartment, I'm in my home. And I'm making Sunday dinner. And we're looking back on the legacy that was created. And the legacy is literally because I trusted God, even when I didn't see it, even in the see nothing season. My grandkids never had to pay for college. My kids never had to pay for college. They bought their homes at 21, right? They are well traveled. That's the legacy I want to live. And they know purpose, and they know that they might go through the hardest tests and trials in their life, but they'll look at me and say, if God can do it for Auntie Kiki, for Granny Kiki, for Mom Kiki, God can do it for us. Mm-hmm. That's the story I want to tell. If he did it for me, he can do it for you, and he will do it for you. What story you want to tell, Ty? You might as well jump in, because you in this now. Okay, what you say? Mm-hmm. Shoot.
I always say, if I'm gonna look crazy, I'm gonna look crazy for God. So even with the promises that, God has given me, the dreams, and I'm gonna look crazy. Yes, I have a box of notes that I wrote to my husband. Mm-hmm. What's his name? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I have gifts for my husband, and that looks crazy. It does. It looks very crazy. But like I said, if I'm going to look crazy, I'm going to look crazy for God, because I have to no longer walk in what I see, but have faith. And I can't be walking like that, where I have to be based off what I see. And so all I'm going to say, if it looks crazy, then it just looks crazy. You know what God doesn't, he may share what he's doing with me, but he may not share it to y'all. If he did, that's his business. But I think sometimes we want to share it to the world. And when we share it to the world, it's like, oh, you doing that? Oh, you fasting? Oh, you praying? You keep going to that same church and praying about the same thing, and nothing has happened. Like, some things we just have to keep to ourselves.
Because so everybody's not going to get it.
Right. They're not going to get it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to look crazy for God. So if that's, okay, praying for a husband that I haven't seen yet, I'm going to continue to pray for my husband, because I don't know what kind of warfare he's in right now.
Good
I
grief.
don't know what kind of generational curses on his life. So I'm going to continue to pray, because I know that he's a black man in America. So I'm going to pray for that too. So I'm just going to look crazy, because I know what God told me.
God. So the stories that we want to tell is Soft Girl Era Loading, What else? God did it. And if I'm going to look crazy, I'm going to look crazy for God. All right. So I'm going to close y'all out with a song.
Your book.
Oh, dang. Friend, you... Okay. Hold this real quick. I'll be back, y'all. I got to show y'all the book. It's Story and Tea with Key. What is it? Story and Tea with Key. Story and Tea with Key time. All right, y'all. So, honestly, I didn't have a book this week until Charlicia brought it up. So, it's called A More Excellent Way by Dr. Henry Wright. This book covers literally, oh, you see where I stopped at? It literally covers most of the diseases that we deal with in our bodies. Not only just our physical bodies, but our mental health as well. And most of it is linked to a spiritual issue. And not only is it linked to a spiritual issue, because it's a spiritual issue, it manifests in the natural or in our body. So one thing I highlighted that I'm going to read to y'all, it says, are you able to do a spiritual inventory of your personality without fear? I want to give you some tools to overcome stinking thinking. Not Henry Wright talking about stinking thinking. That's mental health, y'all. I want you to begin to see yourself as a triune being. And then it gives a scripture, and the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And this is talking about wholeness, right? And I love this because this is kind of what this platform represents. And I pray, God, your whole spirit and soul, body be preserved, blameless until the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. And then it says, may the God of peace sanctify you wholly is important. We know sanctification means holiness, and the word sanctify means to make holy, but it says the very God of peace sanctify you to make you holy, that you can be made whole. So this what I want to say about that, y'all, is that when you're taking inventory of your life, you cannot be afraid for God to show you your heart. This is the message I'm gonna leave y'all with. These conversations are hard for Taisha. It's hard for Charlicia. It's hard for me. But the reality of the situation, if I don't address these situations, then all I'm doing is delaying my promise. So books like A More Excellent Way is a good start to try to get yourself on the right track. And I'm going to tell y'all something. This is not the season to continue to sweep stuff under the rug. It's not the season for that. Because you're saying that you want the promise, but you're not even willing to address your childhood trauma. You say you want the promise, but a part of your promise has to do with finding a good church that you like. But because church hurt happened to you, you won't even attend a church. Or you're saying that you want the promise, right? But you will avoid your career path out of fear that you're not going to be successful. And God is saying, until you address your stinking thinking and let you be made whole, I can't even issue to you the promise. These are the things that I'm having to work through, that Boone is having to work through, Charlicia and Ty. So what I'm telling y'all is, if you don't take nothing else from this episode, get whole. And you can only do that by faith and prayer and faith. And sometimes your faith may look like going on Psychology Today and finding you a therapist.
And fasting. And I want to say something to that, because with fasting, that's something I think I fasted more in the last year than I have my entire life. Because for me, I fully understand what fasting is. Fasting isn't just starving yourself. Fasting isn't just, I'm just not going to eat a meal. That's a diet.
Yeah.
That is a difference between a fasting and a diet, and that's a whole different episode. But what I would say is there have been things that, the promise may not have been released to me yet, but there have been things in Revelation that God has shown to me, because I literally did not eat. I fasted. In that time when I'm fasting, it's deeper, like I said, than just eating nothing or, just drinking water. In that time, I'm praying. In that time, I'm reading my Bible. I'm consecrating myself. And I'm telling you, some of this stuff, like, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, one of the last, like when I did one of my last big fasts, that's when that's when my dreams escalated.
Oh my goodness.
Like I literally had a dream some nights I would have 2 to 3 dreams in a night for like weeks straight.
God.
And I've just noticed that when I fasted, and I've been not only fasted, I've been intentional about it. Again, he may not have released the promise yet, but he's gotten me steps closer.
He's giving you
so
insight.
I can understand, like, oh, that's why you allowed this happen. That's why this is happening right now. So even though the warfare may seem like it's getting thicker, because I put that piece of chicken down, I understand why now.
God, it's almost like as the plot thickens, God quickens. So the fast gets harder, but your spirit gets stronger, which helps you to identify where you're at with why God hasn't released something to you yet.
And that's one of the things, like, as I'm waiting for the promise, and even once the promise happens, I never want to feel like God has stopped talking to me. That's something that I have strong conviction about. Like, I know I'm not going to always get it right. I'm human. There are going to be some days I'd be ready to buck. Like how we said, we get our anger voice. God, I don't care.
He don't care. Because he be talking about me so calm.
And so even when I have those moments, it's like, okay, Charlie, you don't want him to take his hands off you, so you better do right by this fast, or you better do right by whatever you feel like this piece leading you to do.
Obedience. That's another delay. That's another delayer. Maybe a part 2 of this should be delayers that can hinder the promise. Right? Things that could delay the promise. But I do want to say this, boom, to that point. The word of God says these things only come by way of fasting and prayer. A lot of the times people don't like fasting and prayer because they don't like to know their heart or what's on the inside of your heart. And you know, and we can all attest to this, you're going to find out what issues you're battling with on a fast. Something is going to come to you that's not of God on a fast. And the purpose of that is for you to repent and for you to go closer to God. Not to say, okay, God, I don't want to accept that. You don't have to accept it, but the reality is that is something you're battling with. So I get convicted on fast because every time I fast, it's like he showed me clear as day. Like, you need to get that together. That's an area, that's a stumbling block. So, all right then. Anything else?
I'm good. I'm clear.
You clear? All right. So, y'all, this says God keeps his promises, and I want y'all to remember that. I'm gonna hit y'all with an old school hymn. Can't clap on B. Everything that happened to me that was good, God did it. God did it. Oh, yes, he did it. Come on. Everything that happened to me that was good, God did it.
God did it.
Hey, oh, yes, he. Anyways, they can't take me nowhere.
Can't even go at your own house. So, like you said, that just confirms. When God releases the promise, and we're going to end on this note, when God releases the promise, the testimony and the story is
God did it. That is a word. Oh my God. Lord have mercy. And Shar, with that also being stated, I left this podcast feeling more hope. No, I'm not going to even complain about the promise no more. What I'm going to do instead is thank the promise keeper. That's a word. Don't complain about why the promise hasn't come. Instead, just thank the promise keeper. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
bye, y'all.
Oh,